and wish you the absolute best of luck on that one. It was a squeaker last time. We'll see if we can't improve the situation for you. Not finished with Chiquita. You wanted to conclude or make another couple of points on the issue. So we discussed the whole notion of the picking and choosing and the equal treatment under the laws and the disparate reality that we have in the business world. But the airport's a critical issue in this too.
No, I want to make a point about the silliness of government and how we set our priorities, and I think that's really about what we want to do and what the Tea Party tries to do and what I want to try to do and what I want to try to bring the government is just a common sense perspective of what we're doing. I want to go ahead and tie this back to what the Democrats on City Council and City of Cincinnati are doing, trying to pursue this investment in a streetcar, which at this point I think is frivolous, unnecessary. And a waste of our taxpayer dollars, when at the same time we've got an airport that's languishing right now, which is key to having corporate headquarters. Do you think you're going to have a P&G that's going to stick here long term if every time their executives fly to one of their offices around the country they have to make 2 or 3 stops to get there?
But you ought to take the trolley from the banks up to the casino.
Well, the streetcar is barely going to reach its desired route here in the city of Cincinnati. I don't think it's going to make it to, say, New York City or Chicago or San Diego.
Eventually, after you and I are long gone, phase 5 or something, we'll get there.
Another example of misguided priorities in government.
I couldn't agree with you more on that one. That's been a thorn in a lot of people's side, and I know that the folks in downtown Cincinnati want to say, well, look at the vote. I mean, reading. Many people would vote against the piece of legislation that would have blocked the streetcar simply because it blocked all rail. At least that was the argument. It was persuasive for some. But, it looks like we're stuck with it unless, of course, someone can pull the plug on financing. That's one of the things Kasich did, at least. They weren't going to get any of the state of Ohio dollars anymore, and you got to be thankful for that.
I guarantee you, if they go to the state legislature asking for more money, if I'm there, my vote's going to be no.
On record, Mike Wilson. Now, I got to ask you, generally speaking, since, and I've already pointed out, and everyone knows that you're responsible for forming, along with some other great people, the Cincinnati Tea Party. Been wildly successful. Of course, you were instrumental in helping get that health care freedom amendment passed, all the Tea Party workers on the ground. Grassroots effort I have never seen before in my life, the likes of it. But I have to ask you, what's your take on the constant, and the lies, the constant demonization of the Tea Party you get in the media, whereas they seem to be embracing these shameless, brutish thugs that they call themselves Occupy Wall Street?
I don't think the difference between, I don't think you could look at the difference between the Occupy Wall Street movement and the Tea Party and see it as anything other than enormous. On one hand, you have a group of people that want to do nothing more than complain about really how wonderful American life is in general. We've got some challenges that we're facing right now, and I feel sorry for the person who were promised a good-paying job when they spent 4 years studying gender studies at the University of whatever. I'm sorry, I got news for you. That's probably not a marketable job degree, and I'm sorry you took $100,000 in student loans to make that happen.
It's not lucrative. I mean, you got to look into these things ahead of time.
I get your frustration because you were lied to by the establishment, but the bottom line is, the people that are part of the Tea Party here, we're about constructive solutions. We're about direct political engagement. You've got people running for office. You've got people lobbying their legislatures. You've got people going out there collecting signatures for the Healthcare Freedom Amendment, and generally going out there and getting it done. I mean, if you notice, the media, now that the Occupy Wall Street movement has essentially degenerated into a bunch of criminal activity, all of a sudden the demonization of the Tea Party seems to have stopped. I think even for a mainstream media that is willing to go out there and run interference for the people that are their political allies, even they are embarrassed by saying that the Tea Party is a bunch of violent people, when it's the Occupy Wall Street movement are the ones that are actually going out there and committing violent crimes. You'd never see anything like that at a Tea Party rally.
Mike Wilson, stick around. We got one more segment with Mike before he heads out. It's 8:25 at 55 KRC Talk Station. A very happy hump day to you. Brian Thomas here, continuing my conversation with Mike, the candidate Wilson. He has just announced on the 55 KRC Morning Show that he is running again against Connie Pillis. We're going to wish him the best of luck. He's going to file his paperwork today, and he's off to the races. So, you mentioned grassroots, Mike. You mentioned what needs to be done. It requires engagement by people who really don't want to be engaged in politics. I get it all day long because, let's face it, I've been on this program for 5 years this December, and prior to that, I admit to being one of the disengaged people, one of the people who wanted to be disengaged from the process. I was disgusted with it, sick of looking at wars, sick of looking at, but shying away from it and running from it is the worst possible thing anybody can do. And I think that's what the Tea Party was all about when you first started it. There was a whole group of people who decided to get up off the couch and pay attention to the direction our country is going. So with that in mind, and knowing you've got this grassroots base there, what about reach out to the people who maybe haven't put their toe in the water, or what do they need to do? What can they do?
Well, with the Tea Party, we've always been about trying to find productive ways for people to get engaged. I mean, I realize why people are disgusted with the political process. They should be, frankly. Look at the problems we're facing on a federal level right now, and the fact that not a single, one politician, Paul Ryan, has been willing to step up with a serious plan to balance the budget, and even his plan waits until 2016 in order to get that done. And that's the most serious of the ones put forward by the political class, right?
Point.
So I think, what we've wanted to try to do is we've tried to take people, from what we call the country, or what Angelo Codevilla calls the country class, that group of regular people who just want government for the most part to leave them the heck alone so they can go about their daily lives and get things done. The bottom line is we need those people to be involved in this process. So for the campaign, we had roughly 43,000 people vote on this race in 2010. With the new district and with the presidential election, we expect that number to be closer to 70,000.
Oh, yeah.
Which means that we need to get our message in front of those people. Unfortunately, that means that we're going to be out there having to raise money in order to do that, so all of that type of stuff makes a difference. Citizensformikewilson.com if you want to make a donation.
I was waiting for the pitch, man. Citizensformikewilson.com.
Ohio has a state tax credit, $50 per individual, $100 per married couple, so it makes it easy to do, dollar for dollar credit. So that kind of stuff makes a difference. But, grassroots more than anything else, knocking on doors, making phone calls is what really makes the difference. You can run a TV ad and someone may or may not see it, but if you knock on their door and you get a chance to put someone there who knows the candidate, I mean, I'm an easy guy to get a hold of. So you volunteer on the campaign, you're going to get to know me. You knock on someone's door and you talk to them, they're 10 times more likely to vote for your candidate than they are the opponent at that point.
And frankly, Mike, and this is why I've got a lot of respect for candidates who can do that type of work, because the door-to-door canvassing type of work that every politician really must do to win the election is not easy work. And I imagine, you get into confrontational situations and you get angry people, and I don't know where that might come from, but it certainly wouldn't surprise me.
Well, actually, it happened when we happened to knock on some of the independent households in Wyoming, for the most part.
Really?
Everybody else, both sides, tended to be pretty friendly, but it was those liberal Democrats in Wyoming that, for whatever reason, didn't like me so much.
Well, name calling is one thing, but you're winning the debate when they're calling you names, Mike.
For the most part, I really enjoyed that last time. I was blessed to have a tremendous crew of volunteers. I've got my grassroots coordinator, Josh Burton, here in studio with me today. Who's helping coordinate that stuff. But we knocked on close to 35,000 doors last time as a campaign, and roughly 10,000 of those were mine. And that took a good year to get done. But ultimately, I think that's a big part of why the race was so close.
Well, it was, and in fact, since you've already introduced yourself to so many people, you already got a whole lot of votes. There's a lot of that groundwork has been done already. I mean, you don't enjoy the status of incumbent, but people know the name, and people know what you stand for, and just getting it out there and encouraging everybody else to do it. And again, I'll give your website again. So, okay, somebody wants to throw you $5, $10, or make a bigger contribution, I know you would welcome it, and you'd also welcome the actual physical volunteers as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a physical volunteer who's willing to go out there and work for you is worth their weight in gold, no question about it. But the website, citizensformikewilson.com, easy to sign up for the email list on there, sign up to be a volunteer, donate if you're willing to do so. But we're tremendously grateful for any support that we have, especially for someone who's out there who doesn't come from the political establishment, who doesn't have this base of support other than a bunch of like-minded people that managed to get together in 2009 and say they were going to make a difference.
Liberty, my friend. You speak in terms of liberty. You speak in terms of personal freedoms and being left alone. I know you will go places. You'll get elected, and you'll
You said what was different between me and Connie Pillich. The bottom line is Connie Pillich thinks that government should make the decisions for you. I think you should make the decisions for you.
God love you, Mike, because I trust you with your decision making. I trust every one of my listeners with their decision making, and that's what you should run on. Good luck. Thank you very much for joining me this morning and announcing on the program. It means a lot to me, and we'll continue to spread the word about Mike Wilson.
I appreciate it, Brian. Glad to be with you as always, my friend.
836, 55 KRCD Talk Station, 749-5500.